Keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro.
Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down. Bear down.
The Chicago Bears season is officially upon us, and the big question going into this new season, will the Chicago Bears actually go from worst to first? Today on the podcast, I had ex-Chicago Bear Isaiah Frey to go over the final record prediction for the Chicago Bears this season. How you doing, Isaiah?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm really happy to finally have you back on. You know, we did a bunch of videos together last season, and we're going to be doing the same thing this season. But I know the listeners enjoy you coming on and talking some Bears football, and it should be a lot better year for the Chicago Bears. But definitely happy to have you back on.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to the season. Like you said, it should be a lot better year than last year. So yeah, we'll get rolling with it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the point of today's video, Isaiah, is that we're going to do a final record prediction with the season starting next week for the Chicago Bears. We're going to go game by game of the Chicago Bears schedule, and we're going to try to do our best to see what the Chicago Bears record is going to be at the end of the season. And I'm telling you first here on the podcast, it's not going to be 3-14. I can tell you that.
No, we'll guarantee that one right now.
Right. Right. And I don't even think that's a bold prediction, right? Some people be like, hey, you know, they're going to go 3-14 again. That's not even a bold prediction. That's just us being realistic.
They will not. They'll win a lot more games.
Right. So the first things first, before we go and break down the Chicago Bears schedule, what is your actual expectation for Justin Fields and this football team this year?
An improvement, man. I mean, anytime that you add some pieces, you kind of build on the season that Justin Fields had last year. You're looking to improve in the win column. So I'm thinking that they are going to improve significantly, and I think we're going to be excited to watch them go.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, last season was really depressing. Like our shows, like when we would come back on after a Bears loss, we're like, man, another loss. You know, it gets tough as a fan to start talking about the team when not a lot was going right besides Justin Fields, of course. Right. So I agree with you. I think he's going to take the next step forward during training camp and the offseason. He's been working his tail end off to get better. And you've definitely seen some improvements from Justin Fields, especially as a passer. So as a fan, I'm definitely looking forward to the new season. And let's get right into it, Isaiah. Week 1 at Soldier Field against the Green Bay Packers. But there's a twist without Aaron Rodgers. Who's going to win that game?
Yeah, give me the dub. It's Chicago Bears, man. They're going to take week 1. Jordan Love's first game. You know, you got to take that into account. I do think the Packers will be a lot more solid than we think they will. But it's going to be an adjustment, right? They've been playing with Aaron Rodgers for how long? I don't know how long it's been. But Justin Fields is going to come, probably have a great game. DJ Moore is going to have a coming out, obviously, at Soldier Field. Give me the W.
Right. And it's just such an intriguing matchup. This is the first time in a long time that we kind of been in that afternoon window. We're America's game of the week, right? And it's been a long time since we've kind of had that spotlight. Some people consider America's game of the week bigger than like Sunday Night Football, right? So it's going to be an intriguing game because you have Jordan Love coming into Soldier Field, the place where Aaron Rodgers has dominated. And now he has the task to try to come in and take over, right? And try to dominate the Bears, much like Aaron Rodgers did. And then you have Justin Fields on the other end saying there's a lot of pressure on him because you cannot lose to the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers, right? We wouldn't hear the end of it. So I think the Bears will also win this game. And I'm going to even be as bold as saying on the podcast, I think they're going to win by 10 plus. I'm not trying to overlook the Green Bay Packers. I think they have a very solid defense. But I think the Bears, Justin Fields, are going to come in and take this game personal, you know, and they're going to be like, you know, it's time to flip the script. You don't have that bad guy in Aaron Rodgers anymore. And I think the Bears get a huge win week 1.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
So then they travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And obviously Tom Brady is gone now. It's going to be led by Baker Mayfield. Who wins that game?
I think the Bears take that one too.
Okay.
You know, it's an adjustment going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Not trying to be funny, but I mean, it's the truth. Tampa's always going to have a tough defense. That's going to be a for him just off that alone. But, you know, they're playing against Baker, and, you know, Baker can, you know, he can play okay at times, and they still have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and whatnot. So, but I think they take the W still.
For the record, Bears fans, Isaiah already has the Bears at 2-0. And why that's significant, the Bears won 3 games last season. So in the first 2 weeks, they can almost match their win total from a year ago. Isn't that crazy to think about?
It is very, very crazy to think about. But what was the record in the first 3 games last year, though?
2-1. It was 2-1. Yes, they did lose 10 straight. So
Right, yeah. So I'm gonna get excited, but I think about last year and they did the same thing. So,
right.
but I feel good about this one though. This is a different feeling.
Right. I think going into Tampa Bay, it's always going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be a tough place to play, even with Baker Mayfield. Like you mentioned, they still have a very good defense there in Tampa Bay. But I think the loss of Tom Brady, as always, is going to be significant for a team like that. They are an older team. They're kind of aging a little bit. And I think the Chicago Bears are going to be riding high off that big W at home against the Green Bay Packers. I also think they get a huge win to start out the season 2-0.
I agree.
So we're moving on to week 3. Week 3 is going to be a challenge. We go to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm gonna have to take the L on this one.
I was hoping that you were going to be bold here, saying we're winning this game too. Come on now.
Nah, we're gonna be realistic about this. They're playing the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Patrick Mahomes, MVP, man, Super Bowl MVP. I think it's just a little too much for him in the beginning, right then. Ask me later down the road in the season and see where they're at. We'll have a different discussion. But week 3, I'm going Chiefs.
This will be a good litmus test game for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, right? I think even if they lose this game, which it most likely will be a loss, it's a tough place to play. And obviously you're going against reigning Super Bowl champion, reigning MVP, and Patrick Mahomes as well. But I feel like this can also be a moral victory, because if you go in there and compete and don't get blown out, it's going to be a good way to see where this team's actually headed for the rest of the season.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think they'll go out there and compete, and don't tell them what the score will be. It's just, I'm always afraid of fourth quarter Patrick Mahomes. He has the ball with 2 minutes to go. Being up or down, it doesn't matter, man. That dude's unbelievable. Isn't
it weird that Patrick Mahomes, when they get down by like 10 plus, that's when he starts turning it on?
Yeah, exactly. It's like he almost does it for fun, man. It's like not a challenge to him if it's not down by 10 plus.
Right. So we both got the Bears taking their first loss at Kansas City. And then we come back home to Soldier Field to take on Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos.
I'm going Chicago in this one.
Chicago, okay.
3-1 right here. I think the Broncos will be much improved from last year. Sean Payton's definitely going to, have his imprint on the team. But I like the Bears. I think the Bears are, comparable possibly in the roster, the way the roster is set up. But, they're at Soldier Field, and me, Justin Fields is the better quarterback. So right now, I'm going Chicago.
Realistically, Isaiah, what may kill the Denver Broncos in this game against the Bears is their recent injuries. They've had a lot of injuries to the receiver room. So I'm not really even sure who Russell Wilson's going to be throwing to come week 4. Things can definitely change, but I'm going to try to be realistic as possible. I actually have the Bears losing this game. I think Russell Wilson will return, not to MVP form, but he's going to be a lot better under Sean Payton. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I'm not sitting here saying the Bears can't win. I'm just trying to be a little bit more, I guess, realistic and saying, you know what, this can very well be a loss as well. So just for realistic purposes, I think the Broncos will be a lot better of a team. And I have the Bears actually dropping this game.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the Broncos are definitely going to be much improved. It should be a good game either way.
Yeah. So right now I have the Bears sitting at 2-2 and you have them sitting at 3-1. So either way, I think no Bears fans will complain about 2-2 or 3-1, right? Still, as long as the Bears can stay 500 and above for the entire season and keep themselves relevant in the division and the playoff race, I think Bears fans will be happy with that.
Right, exactly.
So now we move on and we're traveling to Washington for a Thursday night football matchup with the Commanders.
Traveling to Washington.
Yes, it's in Washington. Thursday night football. And we all remember what happened last year. It was in Chicago, played them on Thursday night football as well. The final score was like 12-7. It was when Darnell Mooney had an opportunity to win the game.
Yeah.
And just dropped it. Is it a revenge game, Isaiah?
It has to be a revenge game. I know I don't want to be a homer right now, but I actually do think they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
Washington will be solid, but I mean, they don't have a quarterback that they can rely on right now. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going with the guy that has a better quarterback. So I'm going with Chicago in the game.
Yeah, I believe their starting quarterback right now is Sam Howell. I feel like he has potential, but I'm with you. I think when you're looking at games like this, like that can be pretty close in terms of who you have on your roster. You tend to go with who has the better quarterback, and I think Justin Fields will be better than Sam Howell. And I don't think it will be a 12-7 game this season. And I think the Chicago Bears go in there, and I think this can be a dominant performance for them and to get back on the winning track.
Definitely, I agree.
So then we move on to week 6. And it's going to be a home game against the Minnesota Vikings.
I got Vikings. I think they take the L in this game. Vikings are going to be solid this year, man. second year under their head coach. Second or third, I can't remember. It's second year, right?
I think it's second year. Yes.
They got Kirk Cousins, obviously JJ's the guy, and they got a scouting report on the Bears already. They're playing. Played them twice last year. It's gonna be tough. So I'm going Vikings on this one.
People are gonna be like, Keek, what in the world are you doing on this podcast? You said the Broncos are gonna beat the Chicago Bears, right? At home at Soldier Field. I think the Bears are going to beat the Minnesota Vikings at home in the first matchup. And I'll give a little spoiler here. I think they will split with the Minnesota Vikings just for later purposes in the podcast. But I think the first matchup against the Vikings, I think the Bears do win that game. I'm not really scared of the Vikings. I'm more nervous about the Detroit Lions this year in the NFC North, more so than the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like this is a team that is aging. I know Kirk Cousins will do Kirk Cousins things. Justin Jefferson's still that guy. But there is a little bit of turnover with Dalvin Cook being gone now. Their defense is aging a little bit. And I think this can be a solid performance for Justin Fields. I think he can play very well against a team like the Minnesota Vikings. And this is going to be a good litmus test as well, because you have to play well against opponents in your division, right? So I think this will be a true testament for the Chicago Bears this season if we can win our first 2 division games as well. So I could very well see this being a win for the Bears.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. I know people will probably attack me like, hey, there's no way you're beating the Vikings. I'm just not nervous about the Vikings this year. They could prove me wrong, but I'm just not nervous about them.
Yeah, I mean, they're a weird team, but I like their head coach, man. He's a good coach, and they got some players over there on the offensive side of the ball. But like you said, Dalvin Cook not being hurt.
Yeah, it definitely will. It definitely will. Then we move on. It's going to be a home game against the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 7.
I got Chicago in that game. I don't think Josh McDaniels is doing a good job over there. He's kind of running it into the dirt. I mean, obviously, I'm a Devontae Adams fan.
Yeah.
Amazing, but they just, I don't think Jimmy G can get him the ball the way he wants to get it. So I'm going Chicago in that game.
I'm really scared of Jimmy Garoppolo. Every time he played us, and obviously this is what with the San Francisco 49ers, he played really well. I think when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo in the regular season, you could probably think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's just about when he gets to the postseason, that's when he starts struggling.
I don't know. He to me is a product of his system, his environment.
Yeah.
At the Patriots, he had Bill Belichick. He had guys around him, and obviously in San Francisco, he had a great roster around him.
Yeah.
So, I'm just not a believer in him. And with Josh McDaniels, man, like Josh McDaniels is not a head coach. He's a good coordinator, but he's not a head coach.
So this is going to be the same one as like the Denver Broncos. This is definitely a game that the Bears can win, but something tells me that this is a game that they will lose. I don't really have good explanation for it. It's just some games you think they should win, but they won't. Right. There's going to be games like that. So I think it's going to be the same thing as the Broncos. I think the Bears actually dropped this one against the Raiders because I feel like, I don't know, it's like something with Jimmy Garoppolo in the regular season. It's like he knows how to win in the regular season, but you're absolutely correct. It could be just a product of him being in San Francisco and having all those weapons. But when you look in Las Vegas, yeah, he has Devontae Adams, Renfro, but I think it's still better in San Francisco. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're moving on to a Sunday night football matchup in Week 8 against the Los Angeles Chargers.
Where's it at?
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles.
Is this going to be a statement game for Justin Fields? Almost like, okay, maybe Justin Fields may be in the MVP conversation by now. And it's like, this is the type of game that he needs to kind of, okay, he's here.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm gonna go them taking the L though.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think Sunday night in Los Angeles against Justin Herbert. I think that's a tough ask. I think they're gonna take the L. I hope I'm wrong, but that's where I'm going with it.
This game is very similar to the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
That a loss can also be like a moral victory because no one expects the Bears to win the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
But this can very well be a test where it's like, okay, we lost the game, but it's like, okay, our team is improving. We didn't go in there and get blown out, right? For example. I also have the Bears losing this game. I just feel like the Chargers are a better suited team. Right. I think they are ready to win now. I think Khalil Mack is going to be ready to go against his former team in the Chicago Bears. I think he's going to have a big game. It's going to be a tough game, but I also think the Bears will lose this game as well.
I agree.
And then we travel to New Orleans and take on the Saints in Week 9.
In New Orleans.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but I think we dropped that one too, man. I like the Saints roster, man. They have a good roster, and then getting Derek Carr that helps them. So I don't like it in New Orleans. I think we lose that one as well.
It's gonna be a hostile environment for the Bears as well. It's gonna be a tough game. But you know what, Isaiah? I have the Bears winning this game. I'm gonna be bold. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going back and forth, going back and forth. I think that's the type of year it's gonna be for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. They're gonna win some games that we don't expect them to. I think they're gonna lose some games that we expect them to win. Right? I think they're gonna go in there coming off a loss. I think it's gonna be a good performance against the Chargers, but they're gonna lose. But coming off a loss, I think they're gonna have a dominant performance against the Saints. It's gonna be a tough game, but I think it's gonna be a game as well. It's like, okay, Justin Fields is here.
Yeah.
Then we go back to Thursday Night Football at home at Soldier Field against the Carolina Panthers. And this is going to be DJ Moore's revenge game.
Give me Chicago in that game. Like Bryce Young, like what they're doing over there. But watching them in the preseason, 0 O-line. I mean, granted, Chicago's kind of weakness on the defense is the D-line.
Yeah.
But you still have to have somebody protecting a rookie, man. So I'm going Chicago.
Yeah, I can just picture it now, Isaiah. Like first play, go empty backfield, just go deep to DJ Moore, or just give him a screen, let him do the rest, right? Let him just go off because he didn't want to be traded. He wanted to be a Panther, right? They traded him away to get that guy in Bryce Young. Yeah. I know he's gonna go in there with some emotion. He's gonna hide it, right? But he's gonna want to go in there and have a big day. But I also got the Chicago Bears. I think it's gonna be a dominant win for the Bears as well.
I agree.
And then we go and play in Detroit against Detroit Lions week 11. This is gonna be a tough one, Isaiah.
Yeah, I'm taking the L in this one. I agree. Like you said with the Vikings, I think they split with the they lose in Detroit, and then they're going to beat them when they come to Soldier. So I'm going to take the L in this one.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the L on this one, and it's tough to say this, but the Lions are going to be very good, you know, and I do give them a lot of credit. What they have built, the culture is great. They have a lot of young talent. I think the one thing about the Lions is that I'm not sure if I have that much faith in Jared Goff yet.
Okay.
Because I've seen him before have really good years and then go back to mediocre years.
Right.
So I think if he can come out and do the same exact thing as last year, maybe even better, the Lions can be a legit threat in the NFC.
Oh, I agree. I'm a Dan Campbell fan, man. I wish I could have played for when I was playing. And like you said, that culture there is fantastic. So, and Jared Goff, man, that last 6 to 8 weeks of the season, man, he did. Man, so like you said, if he can step it up, man, they're gonna be a scary team.
So Isaiah, you said you would have liked to play for the head coach of the Lions, right? Would you have been okay with biting kneecaps off? What would be your response to as a player if he said that? Like what would you do?
Man, his delivery is so good that I wouldn't even comprehend the content that he's saying. He could have said some BS, and I would just be like, man, his delivery is so nice, man. He'd have me ready to run through a brick wall. So I probably wouldn't even comprehend it until I took some time to think about what.
Right. It's funny because he's out there doing up downs with the team, out there trying to hit his players and stuff. It's crazy because Amon-Ra St. Brown, the receiver for the Lions, was on a podcast with EQ, the receiver on the Bears. Right. And he was like, we had like 6 live tackling practices. Yeah. Which was like the most in the NFL. So they're a physical team, right? They're young, they're physical, and they have a lot to prove going against the Chiefs week 1 as well. That's going to be an exciting game. That's a game that I think they can very well win as well. So
definitely, it's going to be competitive.
Yeah, so I definitely have the Bears losing this game in Detroit, and then we go to Minnesota, week 12, to play the Vikings.
Give me the win there. I think we upset them in Minnesota. I think we start to hit our stride as far as defensively, and we're gonna get rolling and going. Give me the W. Okay,
I did say that we were going to split against the Minnesota Vikings as well. So I have them losing in Minnesota, but I have them winning in Chicago. I think this will be Minnesota's last year to try to win it all. I don't think they're going to win it all, but they're still going to be relevant in NFC North because of Kirk Cousins, and they still got weapons on the outside as well. But yeah, I have the Bears dropping this one as well.
Got it.
And then we go into the bye week 13, late bye. So that's always good when the bye is kind of late. Or what's your preference when you were playing? Did you like the early buys or the late buys?
Late bye for sure. I hate early buys are terrible.
Yeah.
They're like, get done early, and then you ain't got not 1 week off until to the end of the season. It's just mentally draining. So like late buys are the best.
Yeah, my buddy's a Chargers fan. He was telling me that their bye is like week 4. I'm like, week 4? Like
terrible.
Like the bye week, the NFL should have it set up to where it's like you should at least have your bye like after week 7 or something.
Yeah.
Like midway through the season or something like that.
Yeah. The only thing is probably just can't fit everybody in before the end of the year, and then. But I agree, man. Having a week 4 bye is terrible.
And I personally think they were being really generous to the Bears, like with the scheduling, because they were the worst team in football last year. So I think they're trying to be a little bit generous as well.
Right. That's probably it.
So off the bye, Isaiah, we play the Lions once again, but this time it's at Soldier Field.
I think we win. I think, like I said, I think we split with them, and I think we win at Soldier.
Yeah, I think this is when we hit our stride. I think after the bye week, we'll have some time to get some guys healthy. If people are injured, I think we'll hit our stride here too. I think we beat Detroit at Soldier Field right off the bye.
Yep, I agree.
And then we travel to Cleveland, week 15, to take on the Cleveland Browns.
Give me the win there. I think it'll be a really good game. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means.
No.
I think we can go out to Cleveland and get the win.
Once again, Isaiah, I think we're also going to hit our stride here. I think we also beat Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tough game. But I think off the bye, I think when I look at last year, that's when we were really good. Is off that bye. We adjusted, and that's credit to Eberflus, right? Yeah. Really good coach. They make adjustments, and I think that's what's going to happen here after the bye. I think we win 2 in a row after the bye.
I agree.
And then we play the Arizona Cardinals, and they're in shambles. And before you go, that's a win. I don't care what anyone says. That's a win.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
There's no explain. That's a win. And then we have week 17 against the Falcons at home. I also think that's a win as well.
That's a win as well too. I agree.
That's four in a row for me. The Bears are now 10-6.
Yeah.
For me at least. Yeah. Going into Lambeau Field.
That's realistic, man. That's super realistic. In that last game, I'm gonna give them the win just because, like you said, they're on a roll. They're 4 in a row going to Lambeau. They need it probably to make the playoffs. Give me the win.
Yes. Bears fans, take a seat, take a deep breath, because for the first time in years, the Chicago Bears, I'm saying it here first, the Chicago Bears will sweep the Green Bay Packers, and it's going to be a damn good feeling.
I agree.
A damn good feeling to sweep those fools, man. I'm telling you, it's been a long time.
Right.
But I think this is the year where we can finally, you know what? The tide is turning.
Yeah, I agree. And that game's going to be important too. I guarantee how that, I think they'll be in the contention to have a chance to make it to the playoffs. That game's going to be very important.
My question to you is 10-6 going into Lambeau Field, right? Mm-hmm. Will the Bears be playing just for a playoff spot, or do you think they're going to be playing for the division by that time?
I think, with our records that we predicted, they would be playing for probably this division. But okay. I'm going to say realistically, they'll be playing for a wild card.
Okay. And that's realistic.
That's real.
That's being real. That's like they're going to be fighting for like that 5 through 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's very possible for them.
It is very possible. And I've always said that if Justin Fields does take that next step and even more and then some.
Yeah.
The Bears can possibly win more games.
Oh yeah, I agree. It can go either way, definitely.
Because for me personally, I have the Bears finishing 11-6 here, right?
Right.
But I also said that the Bears could easily beat the Broncos. The Bears could easily happen to beat the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right.
That's what, 13-4?
Right.
Then you're talking about winning the division and possibly being like the 1 or 2 seed at 13-4.
Right.
But that's hypotheticals here. Where I'm not saying they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So don't attack me in the comments. I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah, it's hypothetical. For me, I'm not too much worried about their offense. I think their offense is actually going to be one of the better ones in the league this year. I'm super worried about their D-line. Yeah. With the defense that Eberflus likes to run, you have to have a good front four. That's almost imperative that you have to have. So I need to see them play first. I know the linebacker is solid. Defensive backfield is going to be very solid. So, that's the only concern I have.
Right. So I have the Bears going 11-6. I wasn't calculating your record. I think you may be a little bit better than me.
Mine might have been 12-5. Yeah.
12-5. Right. So I think your record indicates that the Bears can win the division. 12-5 is a very good record. Right. Yeah. And I'm going to make a bold statement here as well. And I've been saying this for the longest time. The NFC North is wide open.
Yeah.
And I have argument. I'm not going to explain my arguments here. I said it many times on live streams, on past podcasts, but the NFC North is very wide open. The Detroit Lions are an improved football team. Yes. The Vikings are still the Vikings.
Right.
Green Bay to me is going to be good, but I think they're going to take a little dip because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. But the Chicago Bears, I think, have an opportunity I know I may get a lot of hate for this. I think people will come at me hard in the comments, but I think the Chicago Bears have the chance to go from worst to first in one offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's wide open. There's no clear cut, division winner this year. I think, if Aaron Rodgers was still there, we'd have a different discussion. But you have Kirk Cousins, you have Jared Goff, you have Jordan Love, and you have Justin Fields.
Right.
In my mind, I personally think Justin Fields is the better quarterback out of all of them. Obviously, you got to take into account Kirk Cousins' career. He's had a great career up to this point. Jared Goff is a solid quarterback, and we don't know anything about Jordan Love yet. But what I know with Justin Fields is his ceiling ain't close to hitting yet, and he got more weapons. So combine that with the year he had last year, and you really don't know what you're going to get, and that's a good thing saying.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because Justin Fields, the pressure is now, it's on him, but it's not, right? He doesn't have to use his legs all the time. I think his legs are going to still be a big part of him and his game and his offense. But just looking at preseason, we're just calling basic vanilla stuff.
Right.
This is how I know Justin Fields has already improved as a passer. There was a play in that first preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. He gets flushed out to the left. He has a clear lane to run for the first down. Last year, Justin Fields runs and gets the first down. This year, you see Justin Fields is keeping his eyes downfield, and he just dumps it off to Khalil Herbert, and he lets his playmakers do the rest.
Right.
That is improvement. That's how you know he's maturing as a player and as a passer.
Yeah, that also could be the product of them playing in the preseason, coach yelling at them, telling them, you better not about taking off in the preseason.
Right.
It could be either one. But yeah, I agree. He needs to learn, not to take as many hits. That's the way of doing it right there.
Right, for sure. But it's going to be hopefully a fun season here. I think it's going to make for a lot of fun content for us doing these pregame shows. I know last year was a good time, especially, for some reason we would predict things and then it would be the total opposite. Hopefully that's not the same case as this year. Hopefully we're coming back to the show with a lot of dubs for the Bears and a lot of happy faces in the comment section. But Isaiah, once again, thank you so much for joining me for Keek on the Mic. But before I let you go, why should Bears fans be excited for the upcoming season next week?
Because you have a second-year head coach who's actually a really good coach, and everybody's comfortable in his system now. And then you have Justin Fields. I think that's as simple as it can get. It takes time for people to understand what they're trying to get done in an organization. And when you get to year 2, it seeps into everybody's head. So they're going to start trending in the right direction. And with Justin Fields running quarterback, man, anything can happen.
Well said. Once again, I appreciate you coming on the show. And as always, Isaiah, bear down to you.
Yep, appreciate you. Bear down.
You've been listening to Keek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.